This next ad break is brought to you by Slambox, Australia's best value basketball repacks. Visit www.slambox.com.au to check out the latest series or join the Slambox Facebook page and message them directly. Slambox features big-name autos including Giannis, Zion, LaMelo, Banchero, Chet, Ja, Tatum, and more. Super short prints, case hits from a variety of different products including National Treasures, Flawless, Noir, Immaculate, Impeccable, and more. Slambox has different tiered product levels to cater for all budget levels and collector preferences. Thank you, Slambox, for your support. Welcome, everybody, to episode 130 of the You Can't Comp This NBA podcast. I'm your host, Russell Gibson, and this week got Aidos Uchos.
G'day, Russell.
How are you today, man? I was just going to say Aidos Uchos from, but then I thought, how do I know you? From the break group, really, isn't it?
It is from the break group, yeah. Or a recent podcast guest on yours about 1 year ago, almost to the day.
It's that time, actually, I think, to get back everyone from last year that hasn't been on. So I've started to reach out from some of the previous guests that have come on.
Yeah.
Which does actually remind me, I need to reach out to Charlie again. I think it'll be good to have him back on.
That'll be good. I think, the ones that I've sort of listened to, I've listened to most of them, to be honest.
Thank you.
And the interesting ones are the boys from Sports Card Nonsense. I found quite interesting with those guys.
To be fair, they are quite good at what they do.
I know, yeah. They are. They're good. They have a little bit of tit for tat kind of thing going on, but on their podcast. But they were good guests, and it was interesting to hear those guys. But those are the guys that popped out for me.
Did you listen to Tim from Slabstrong?
Yes. Yeah.
I feel like he was the best narrative driver that we had on the show. Like he just sort of spun these stories of.
Yeah, he had quite humble beginnings, didn't he? He sort of was it on his last paycheck or something? He came up with this.
Well, I'm not disputing his story, but that is also part of the narrative, right? Isn't it?
Yeah.
And again,
we love narratives. We love narratives.
Yeah. He weaved that in. It was like his last $200 that he spent, creating this painted device, and
No, it's interesting. It's interesting, but I think. I'm not too sure what I was going to say there. I think I might have spoken to him on Instagram about. I just said good job on the podcast or something.
Yeah,
that's about it. Not that interesting.
So I think let's not dilly-dally too much before we get into the run sheet. And to be fair, the top half of this run sheet is pretty much yours. So 100% credit to you on that. But before I do get into that, just tell us about a couple of things you've picked up recently and put into your PC, or a couple of random hobby thoughts that's on your mind. Yeah.
So I've been I guess some of the most recent ones that I've picked up are some numbered Shangoon rookies prisms. So I think I've got the Fast Break 99.
Yeah.
I've got a numbered 199. And just a few different color match cracked red ice, I think. And I think I've got
from the mega boxes.
Yeah, it must have been. I'm not really sure. I kind of just went on eBay and searched Shangoon, and that was when they were about, I don't know, you could pick them up for $7, not that expensive.
I think the last time you came on, you were also talking about Shangoon, weren't you?
Yeah, well, that's what I was doing that just before I came on, actually, because I was going back to see what date I was on. I was like, I wonder how much a Shangoon Silver Prism PSA 10 was, and they're roughly the same price. It probably increased
Have they gone up or down slightly though?
It's probably gone up a little bit, so it's probably more stable now. It's sitting at about 380 Aussie dollars.
Okay,
not US. So because I've got my card ladder set on Australian currency just so I don't get caught out too much. And so I think around that time there was a few fluctuations. There would be one that would sell for 310, and then there'd be one that would sell for 400.
Yeah.
And so it's probably just settled out a little bit, but he was sort of, and I just wanted to see, just because he was in the race for that most improved player against Maxi. So he was second for quite a long time, but he's dropped off a little bit now. But I think that's probably got to do with the Rockets' performance as well, with winning games and whatnot. But yeah, so that was just a little Şengün update for everyone.
That's really good. So are you still feeling bullish about him though? Like, do you still think he's a strong buy for you? Like, where are you at with that?
It's interesting. He has sort of like a cult following.
Yeah.
I feel so. It's not so easy now to just pick things up on the cheap.
What creates this cult? Like, because when you say that, my first thought is that a lot of that's just money driven, and that people think he's going to be like a Joker light, and so they can see his price is going to 75 or 80% of Jokers.
Well, that's what people call him, the baby Joker.
Yeah.
And whether that's a fair comparison, I mean, I think Joker was the person that he's modelled his game on. Like they have, I've seen a few Instagram posts where they have Joker there and Şengün, and then like doing the same thing. They do the same thing with Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan and stuff like that. So
he should be watching Joker footage though. Like, it makes sense,
absolutely.
doesn't it?
Yeah. He's got the same body type, sort of similar position. And I think was it the youngest? He had some stat the other day about assists. I think it was maybe the youngest player to 500 assists or something like that. So he's on a similar sort of trajectory. Obviously, Jokic came out of obscurity in the second round at 32 pick or something like that.
Yeah. Just the photos of him when he first came into the league is just crazy, though, isn't it? It's like
a
bit like Giannis when he came in, just how much their bodies have changed. And
well, so like even there's that young photo of Jokic when he must have been just a teenager. He's just sort of sitting there. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's just like he's the best basketball player on the planet. And a similar sort of one, I think there's a Giannis story where he's like a towel boy. He goes and wipes the floor and stuff, and he's like he just loved the game, and it's just like, all right, he's a championship sort of finals MVP kind of guy now. And it's interesting where people come from, and those sort of stories are quite nice, I think.
Yeah. All right.
So let's get on. So
let's do it. Yes.
So I wanted to talk to you about the Tops Now on card auto for Victor Wembamyama. So I wanted to ask you whether you're a Victor Wembamyama man or a Victor Wembamyama man for the price of a numbered, technically rookie card at 2,250 USD.
So I think first of all we need to break this down a little bit. So that was your prepared gag for the show, yeah?
That was it.
That's really good.
I just did, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's just one of those things I've been saying when people sort of been talking about Wemby and sort of buying into or just buying a single card. Like if you're lucky enough to get into a random team and get the Spurs and get a decent Wemby card, I think all power to you. But I'm just not sure I'd be entering into breaks and risking that sort of those funds for that possibility of the chance, which is why I sort of thought that would be pretty attractive, I think.
So I think, why don't we just take 2 seconds just to break this down a little bit more? So
yeah.
The $2,250 guarantees you an autograph, but all of the cards are randomized. So there's a 99 base, a number to 49 blue, number to 25 purple, number to 10 red, 5 orange, and 1 gold. So basically what you're paying that high dollar mark for is the 5 orange or the 10, or if you're lucky you get the gold. Yeah. So I think where I'm actually going to go with this is I'm going to be a little bit of devil's advocate here, because looking through the comments, we put this up onto the You Can't Comp This Facebook page. If you want to join and check that out, please do. Basically everyone's saying no.
Yeah.
So I think just to avoid us being in an echo chamber, I'm actually going to do the opposite way about this, because there's no way that these don't get sold out in their entirety. And I also don't see them discounting them either, because looking at the after sales on Wemby stuff, it's really quite high. And then you put this into the comments too, which is I think is a really good comparison. A silver PSA 10 is selling for basically the same price, like almost identical actually. So, and we know about population counts. Most likely that will be numbered to in the 2000 mark in the next couple of years. Doesn't have an autograph. Yes, it is the pro card, and this is where I'm not going to try and do the sell, but maybe plant a bit of a seed here. I really do think we're in a phase of transition within the hobby, because I think there was this really strong movement between pro prices, college prices, and the sort of products like this. Like Tyson Beck is probably another example too. And maybe this is where Tyson's a little bit ahead of his time, and maybe some of that Tyson Beck stuff actually might increase in value over the next couple of years, because as we transition away from Panini and we start heading towards Fanatics, products like this actually going to become a lot more valuable, because if you want a rookie autograph, you're not going to get it out of Panini. So I think collectors are going to have to, spend their money, in different places.
Definitely. And when I was thinking about it and whether, the argument whether it would be a pack pulled card or not, do you reckon with the it's not really a risk involved, but with the opportunity possibly to get a lower numbered card, it still comes in a pack. It's still sort of the same. I don't know if it's the same risk, but
I think people are still going to get the same thrill out of ripping that, though, that they would get a ripping out of a box.
Yeah. And I was thinking, like, you could probably spend that amount in breaks trying to get a decent Wemby card, but you could just buy the card. Like, you get the opportunity.
Yeah. So I think Fanatics have done a lot of interesting things already, and I would probably add this to the list of something else that now Fanatics has done. And so going to your point and taking that further, you could spend that money on breaks and get nothing. You could buy a box and get an absolute stinker and again, get nothing. Or you can go into the Fanatics run lottery and hope to get a low numbered autograph, but you're still going to get a base number to 99. So, I don't actually mind this at all. I think there are enough collectors out there that, this will sell out. I'm surprised that this hasn't sold out already. And
so I had a look before. It did sell out. I think I was going to actually have a look at it when I found out about it.
Yeah.
But I just didn't get time during then, and I was like, I just don't have that much money to spend on that right now. But if I had the cash and it was available, I would probably buy it, I think. The only thing that was probably a detractor from it was maybe it was about his 1,000 points on the card. So it had the RC logo, it had the obviously has a number on there depending on which one you get, and it has the autograph. But it's the photo of it has it's like celebrating 1,000 points. So whether that's fits into like the actual rookie card side of things, I'm not too sure, but I'm sure there'd be collectors out there trying.
Again, I'm just trying to argue that other side. So I think for me, there's two thoughts in mind come to that.
Russ, you don't have to tell me. I'm a Wembamyama man. All right?
Yeah, no, that's cool. But I just think that the comments were so heavily negative that, I don't think I would prefer not to create an echo chamber in this space. Do you know what I mean? And so that's why I'm just trying to think of it like this. So I think, but two thoughts came to mind there is that I think the 1,000 points help you identify that it's the rookie year.
Yeah,
that's pretty clever. But I think the other thing too is then that also gives them further opportunities to do this again. And I'm just trying to be realistic about where Fanatics is going with this, because I think, you think about this, this is direct from Fanatics and then into the consumer's hands, and that was the model that he spoke about that in his plan that he released a year or so back. This is the type of stuff that we're starting to see. So that would be the only thing I would probably be a little bit worried about. You're spending $2,000, but is this going to be happening again in the next month, and then the next month again after that, and then the next month again? But again, to be the devil's advocate here, that's not so much dissimilar to what Panini does with Prism, Donruss, Immaculate, Noir, Flawless, on and on and on. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I guess that pricing model is just divided by how many boxes they make, because everyone's trying to get that one card. It's like the LaMelo year. People are just trying to get LaMelo. But if there was an opportunity to just buy that card, then obviously it's going to cost more because it's not taking into consideration the cost of all the other cards and stuff. But you get the thing that you want. It's like Topps have created a Panini points model, but the points is just money.
Yeah, so I mean, without diverging too much and going down a pretty deep rabbit hole here, there's been a bit of online chatter that they won't have redemptions in their products, and all the products are going to be full. So maybe we, instead of seeing redemptions, we'll see more promotions run like this.
I don't mind it. I think it's a good direction. Personally, I think if you have a goal of getting one of those cards and it comes up and you happen to be in line and get one, it's a bit like sometimes when they release like sneakers and stuff like that. You put your email in and they'll email you whether you get in or not, and then you have the opportunity to buy it or not. So yeah, I think it's just, I don't know. I get a feeling sometimes that people in the hobby are a little bit scared of new things and a bit of change, and but I think it ultimately for the consumer, like there's so much wasted money on trying to hit that card, and if you can just get it, then it makes sense to me. And it probably would make sense to like parents, maybe people who don't want to have the gambling aspect involved in trying to pull those cards.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that.
And look, I actually hadn't had that exact thought, but I suppose just to maybe pass it out a little bit more, I still think they're going to have sealed boxes where you don't know what's in the boxes.
Definitely.
But then maybe what you're talking about is this actually just taps into a different market and a different type of people that, want that assurity, maybe that's the better word, isn't it? But
I think the word is risk adverse.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who don't like that aspect of it.
Look, I think probably this is going to, I'll open the floor to you, but this is going to be my final thought here. I do think this is just part of the ongoing battle that we're currently seeing between Fanatics and Panini. And, really this is, I see this as, I'm using air quotes now, an act of war, because Panini are now rolling out all these products with no signatures. And then Fanatics are selling them for $2,000 a pop in a sealed packet. Like, it's just such a stark contrast for me. And, just in case anyone hasn't heard, my opinion about the no autographs, it's really disturbed me and it's almost kept me up at night. Like I'm having nightmares about it. It's really upset me.
I guess, it's quite sad. It's just like, that's how I feel. It's like that big, like no autograph text. It was just like, oh. And it's quite funny. Like I have seen some groups, because obviously it's a case hit. And then some groups have had that Wembamyama no autograph thing as the advertising for their group. And it's just it's just odd.
Again, to be devil's advocate, they've actually sold really well. They're selling for more than $1,000. People are still considering them to be an SSP. Look, I think my concern is not now. What are they going to be selling for in 5 years? That's the real thing.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be shelling out that much. Yeah, for them.
Look, I thought we could just go through some comps on some Wembamyama, because this is, for me, something I haven't really done that much, time into. He's not on Card Ladder. So I literally just sat there tonight and just went through eBay sold listings and just jotted them all down. So I won't run through them all because I think it's pretty boring just hearing out the numbers. But basically, the raw silvers have sold between $950 and $1,300, and that's USD prices. So, that is in my mind actually sky high. And Anthony Mill put this into the comments before, like, this is really into like the rarefied air of, Jordan, LeBron, type pricing on cards. So, and the silvers, this is AUD prices, PSA 10, 3,500, 3,300, 3,200, 3,000. So they've very consistently sold in that 3,500 AUD mark.
Yeah.
Which, again, in terms of, like today's hobby value, like that's up around, the Giannis sort of mark, and that's more than KD. It's more than, some of the really big guys. That's less than Steph off the top of my head, but
yeah, it's just like it's been repeated so often when these products first come out. Like, what's the difference between getting one that's graded first and graded 2 years later, when the price probably is at the level where it probably should be? Like, always first to market generally is going to get that higher price.
I do think that's true, but I would probably say, there's a lot of excitement around this kid, and I do understand that. I do share that excitement. Like, I think he's an amazing prospect, and then also too is just the population of it, isn't it? Right? When you look at the pop reports, and there's two of them, like I get how people can definitely get caught up in that, and maybe forget that 10,000 more are going to be submitted in the next couple of years. So,
but what I would say, Russ, at population 2 is that you can't comp that.
That's your second joke for tonight. Go easy, man.
Sorry, man. I didn't mean to.
This is a serious podcast, Aidos.
I know. I'm so sorry. So the other variations, so the cracked ice, roughly, what's that, between 660 and 460? Moves around.
The narrative around that is actually quite interesting, because that's out of the Prism blasters that leaked early.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand why the price on that is quite high, but at the same time too, I think of all of these, that's the most fraught with peril for me, because I think that's the one that's most likely going to crash pretty hard.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. So what was that? Was that Walmart? They got in trouble for releasing it early? Did they have to pay a fine? I
haven't been able to find anything about that to say about the penalty that they did receive.
Okay.
But funnily, now that we're segueing down this little rabbit hole, so I was reading online on a forum the other day to say that someone picked up the Prism Monopoly blasters. They went to the checkout to scan out.
I did see this too,
yeah. And then they couldn't go through with the purchase. So basically it's just like repeating itself again, and it's happening again.
Yeah.
So, and then I was looking on eBay today. There is a heap of Prism Monopoly blasters available. There's singles that are already being, sold. And actually, I got to say, I know in the past I haven't been that crazy about the collectability of the Prism Monopoly stuff, but the variants this year actually look nicer than the Prism, retail that we're seeing with the Wembamyama stuff. So
I haven't had an opportunity yet to have a look at the variations, but did you speak last week about how many variations there are now? Was that something that I learned from you guys?
So we did discuss that. It's over 63 or something like this, yeah.
And is the Monopoly set considered a subset?
So those variants are in addition to the...
okay. Yeah. So, right. So there's another 40 odd to tack on.
Probably another 60 or 70, yeah.
Of the same picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's next level, isn't it? Like, the amount of product that's just being printed now is just...
Yeah.
As collectors, we're just really animals, aren't we, really?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So in the world of Pokemon, generally there's a release every 3 months, and that's simply for the gameplay aspects of playing the trading card game.
Yeah.
With a few subsets in between. So they had the celebrations thing for the 25-year anniversary. They have these fates subsets that come out sort of in between those periods as well. But it just seems like at the moment, just getting so much product from Panini. Looking at some of the pre-releases and stuff. So Court Kings is coming out soon as well. And then so Monopoly. I wasn't expecting them to do another Monopoly round.
I have seen this narrative being thrown around that Panini is just going to print out as much stuff as they can and just basically make as much money before they exit.
Yeah, just ride the boat into the rocks.
And look, and you can make the argument that they're doing it in very subtle ways, or you can sort of read between the lines and say, actually, no, they're doing it in a very blatant way. And I think what you just said then is quite right. Like, if there's 60 something variants in Prism Hobby and Prism Retail, and there's another 60 in Monopoly, well, then the maths in that's easy. We were speculating last week about how now there's 2 numbered cards in the cases of Prism blasters, and so that in my head And if we're being pessimistic about Panini, that I think they've just doubled the print run there.
Well, it'll be the easiest.
Sample size of only one. I did watch a case and only one autograph came out though. So for that to me is like very, very interesting.
Okay. Well, could that be possibly because no one's signing? Or is that just...
I think it's just a cost measurement thing. If you're just printing out cards, putting them into cases and then, only one sort of consumable in there.
Yeah.
Like that's easy money, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
We have a new sponsor supporting the show. It is The Bangman, who is a new startup and have been operating since June this year, delivering a variety of hobby packs in a single box at an affordable price. So far, they've delivered some huge hits. The biggest one they've pulled so far is a Steph Curry Signatures Gold Auto to 10, which came out of the July edition. Some comps have been rounded up to about 15k AUD, which was verified by Card Letter. So if you're not familiar with what the Bangman is and what their product is offering, it's basically an assortment of hobby packets put into a box at an affordable buy, and you can then open a variety of different hobby packs. Some of the advantages of buying into a product such as this is that you can sample a whole bunch of different products. Another way to think of it is doing your own break at home. The advantage of the Bangman's product is you are purchasing sealed, unsearched hobby packs as opposed to a single card repack product that has a huge range in value. Just to make the clear delineation between the Bangman's product and any traditional repack, when you buy into a Bangman product, you are getting the guarantee of the Panini seal, and then all of the hits then come out of sealed products. So all the numbered cards, if appropriate for the product, rookie patch autographs, signature cards, and of course those super short prints and case hits. Another key point for the Bangman product is that they have an assortment of different hobby packs in a custom box at two different price points, one being a gold edition and the other being a silver edition. Each month, the Bangman changes up the pack so it's not the same constant lineup. For listeners of our podcast, we have an exclusive deal for you. Use promo code youcantcompthis to get a $15 discount off your next purchase. Find the Bangman on Instagram, the.bang.man, and on Facebook, The Bangman. Thank you so much, Amir and Team Bangman.
That takes me to a thought. How many stickers do you think Panini have in the warehouse, just like sitting there, that have been signed? Do you reckon they're...
Look, I've got no idea, but they've definitely got heaps of stuff sitting around. So, for example, the one that comes to mind straight off that is Manu Ginobili. So they've had stickers for him for years. He hasn't been in products. Now that they know that towards the end of it, Manu came out in last year's products.
Yeah.
Now, he'll be in until at the end of their products now. And obviously Duncan's coming back too. He signed 20,000 stickers. So we know there's going to be 20,000 plus the on-card autographs coming out too. So,
well, that was one thing that I was going to ask what your thoughts were about Tim Duncan's pricing with the popularity of Wembamyama. Is there a possibility to sort of retroactively increase Tim Duncan's prices with the possibility of a whole heap of new people coming in following the Spurs just because of Wembamyama?
I don't know what it's going to take for Tim Duncan to change his hobby pricing, because in my head, and I'm not saying this to be controversial, but there's definitely an argument to be made that he's top 5 of all time at the the ceiling, and then at the absolute basement for me is 10.
Yeah.
And for someone to change my mind and put Duncan out of the top 10 for me, something really dramatic, they would have to make this argument to me so profound. I would have to almost have a sort of a crisis, and so and when you compare his standings and then his hobby prices, the equation just doesn't play out for me. So at some point though, I think his hobby value will change. It's just when is that going to happen, and how much is it going to change? So to take your point, maybe it's that, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be something like a documentary is made, or a movie is made, or something like that will capture him in the media. And I think that's also part of it too. You could throw Kawhi Leonard into this. They're the anti-social media. They're the anti-self-promotion, true American, doing podcasts and all the rest of it.
It's probably the people that sort of like that about those players as well, because there would be people that like Kawhi Leonard simply because he's sort of that person. He's
Yeah,
not
definitely. That
out
fits
in
my
front.
personality typing for sure. Yeah.
But it's it's interesting because those are the people who probably wouldn't go to the effort to get the cards and sort of be worried about that. It's almost like they don't want to tell people about it, this secret, just because he's like an amazing player. But
the numbers for Tim Duncan are so obvious. Like that's also the part that I struggle with too. Like why aren't other people noticing this? Like
they just look past it. There was something on because Shaq's been doing a podcast. I'm not sure if you're aware of that, but he might have been a guest.
I'm not aware of it, but I also wouldn't listen to it.
No, not a fan. Big Diesel.
I'm happy to catch snippets of him, in clips on Instagram or on ESPN or NBA TV. That's fine, but
yeah,
I think to sit down and listen to him speak for an hour or 45 minutes, that would really disturb me, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what's it like? Is he intelligent? Is he curious?
Interesting that you bring up the clips, because it was a clip that I saw and he was saying the only person that they're like, who's the only person that wasn't scared of you? And he's like, straight away, he's like, Tim Duncan. And that was it. He's like, he didn't care. He didn't care that he was bigger, didn't care anything. He was not afraid.
Yeah.
And it's just like those little things. I was like, yeah, Tim Duncan. And it just got me thinking about if Wemby's so popular and all get hordes of new fans for the Spurs.
Yeah.
Do they go back and look at the championships that Tim Duncan's won and then sort of retroactively I want a Tim Duncan card, and then all of a sudden, because of Wemby's popularity, that sort of market increases.
Maybe someone makes a documentary about the Spurs history and from then to now, and they put Duncan on a pinnacle, and
I think it could be more interesting than the MJ documentary, but that's just a personal opinion.
I mean, that was kind of good watching MJ just slaughter people for about an hour and a half, wasn't it? That was kind of good.
Yeah. It's just, he just doesn't seem that likable to me, personally. I know that doesn't really matter in terms of basketball skill, but I kind of, he seemed a bit ruthless. Anyway.
I mean, look, probably deep down, that speaks to a lot of people, doesn't it? Like they wish they could be that person.
Definitely.
Definitely. Let's be true.
Definitely.
All right. Want to talk about two more prices of Wembamyama, and then we'll move on to the next bit, and you can get your final thought. So, in a pick your player case of blasters, Wembamyama sold for 859 AUD, and that to me is just, mind numbing, because what's the chance that you'd even get your money back? Like, so if you're going through the comps that we just did, you have to get at least one silver, realistically 2 to break even.
Yeah. Or was that in the blasters? Did you say?
Yeah, that was a blaster case. Yeah.
Now, I think I asked you this question the other day about blaster cases. Do have numbered cards in them, don't they?
There's 2 numbered variants this year in blasters. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then also auto potential. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's realistically, what are you hoping? Like,
you're not going to get an autograph.
Nothing. You could get nothing.
I think you're hoping for a numbered card, though, aren't you? That would be like the really big.
That would be, definitely. But even that, like, return, I don't know. As you know, I'm a big odds guy. I prefer to just buy one blaster. If I don't get that card, then that's fine.
Yeah.
Spending $900 or on that would be, you save up a little bit more and you can buy the autograph card from Tops,
Yeah. You're already halfway there. I know, actually, that's not, it's about a third of the way.
Because that's AUD. But if you've got that kind of money to throw around on that, then possibly you might have a little bit more to shell out for the Tops now auto, possibly.
That really staggered me, actually. I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
Final thoughts on Victor?
Look, I'd be happy to hit one if I bought just a retail blaster or a fat pack or something like that.
Yeah, you still want to have a dabble. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You want to have I'm sure there's a lot of people that just bought one line in the $160 million lotto the other day.
Yeah.
Just want to be in the game. So, yeah, but I don't think I'd be, not at those prices.
Yep. And look, I think that's a really good place to leave this at, because I think he's creating a lot of hobby excitement. People do want to have a go at this. So I think this is all very, it's good for the hobby. I think there's not a lot of arguments to be made, there. And you can see the after sale prices are excellent. So
definitely. Well, the interesting part of that too would be looking at, people. I have a feeling that people might like hoard this product, buy it as like sealed investments, and sometimes, but I guess on the other hand,
why would they do that though?
Well, if you look at, so people are still, depending on what you read and what you believe, like about the Luka 1 of 1. Like, let's just say that when Wembamyama 1 of 1 gets pulled and doesn't get spoken about.
But that would come out of hobby, not out of blasters.
Yeah. So I'm just forward thinking for when they come out, the hobby stuff comes out.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people might just get a box and just leave it for a while, on the hope that 1 of 1 doesn't get pulled by backyard breaks in the first week that it's out.
In the first day, yeah, exactly. Look, and can I be honest with you, I actually don't disagree with that thought process, because he is that type of prospect.
Definitely. Yeah, and with that, with the Luka 1 of 1 still sort of possibly not pulled, it's interesting. It's just another aspect of the collecting.
Yeah.
I guess that potential to be looked at as a way to spend your money if you wanted to. You just have to wait you just have to wait a few years.
It's a very long-term play.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
And definitely there'll be people, doing that. So, waiting 12 months, the shines come off the product, people want to, unload some, and then you're picking up boxes for cheap. Like, I'm totally fine with that, actually.
And by then, Brandon Miller might be the man.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au.
The Lebron and Bronny 1 of 1.
So I think we should talk about this just for the fact that it has been pulled and it has been sent for grading. So it happened pretty quickly. I felt like we were just watching videos on social media about them signing it. It doesn't feel like that many weeks later. Now it's been put into packs randomly, sent out, ripped, and it's been revealed. So, I mean, congratulations to the person who did hit it. And it also came back PSA 10. So I think, you can talk about a narrative if you'd like to, but the narrative I wanted to explore with you is, what does this card mean for collectors? What does this card mean for the future? Do you see this as something that's going to be, really chased, or is it just sort of another LeBron James autograph?
I have a feeling, look, and obviously Bronny has had his health concerns, which, might have put a little bit of might have just slowed things down a little bit in terms of them playing together. Look, he's been on minute restrictions for his team.
And for people at home that don't know, he had a cardiac arrest on the court. Was revived and taken to hospital, and
and so it's quite interesting, and just like the hatred sometimes that comes out for LeBron James is interesting.
I mean, that's well established within our podcast group, and also our chat group also. Yeah, so
definitely. But people have been sort of quite critical on his stats, I guess, from college games. I don't know how many people are watching them, but just looking at the stat lines, and it's not been impressive. But I don't know what his minutes have been like either. And it's coming back from a heart attack, cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
I just, Yeah, I just don't know about. Obviously, that card is going to be worth a lot of money, and someone's going to possibly sell it for a lot of money. But I just think that it wouldn't. If I had that kind of money, it wouldn't probably be the investment that I'd be looking at. It wouldn't be as safe as possibly it would have been when he initially said he wanted to play with his son from those health concerns, as an objective sort of an opinion of that.
Yeah.
But if it does all work out, then money well spent. They play on the same team. Possibility of he's running that team, winning a championship. If he wins a championship with his son, that's the best script possible. So
his numbers in college have been 3 points a game, 3 rebounds, and 1.4 assists, or something like this. And I'm not going to lie to anyone here. I don't watch a minute of college. I find it hard enough just to keep up with the NBA and watching the games I want to watch. So I sort of do that to manage my own time, and I just make it very hard. I might watch the final. That's about it. But so I can't really talk about this with any true insight to what's going on. But my gut feeling about this is that he's basically dropped off every single prospect board and every single draft board that is in existence. I haven't seen him listed on one. So if he does get drafted, it's pure nepotism.
Yeah.
And the team that drafts him is essentially doing it to get the package of LeBron and Bronny. And can I be honest with you? I am totally fine with that.
Yeah.
I'm not supporting nepotism. I'm just saying, if I'm a general manager and I can get LeBron James in my team, and that's what it takes to spend a second-round pick on his son, what? Come on, what are we talking about here? Let's cut the rubbish and say that's a great move. So I'm fine with that.
So who's LeBron replacing at Sacramento then?
It can't be De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis.
Well, it can't be. Well, he's not coming off the bench because Monk's still got to stay there for the rest of this for a little bit.
So I think, getting back to this card, do I think it's valuable because of Bronny? I'm saying this in a kind way. I really don't think so. I think speculating on that is a very long-term thing. Do I think that this is an interesting card? It's very interesting. We haven't seen LeBron autographs for a very long time. That's interesting. And it's also interesting to have a father and son on the same card. That is actually thoughtful. And whoever came up with that idea, I like it. So again, full points to Fanatics here. This is a really cool card.
Definitely. And I didn't look it up, but is there any other father-son combinations that do have a autograph together on the same card?
I actually think Doc and Austin have got one.
Okay. Yeah.
But that's a really good question, which I don't actually know the answer to, but I am pretty sure Doc and Austin do, because I think I bid on eBay because I thought that's just a cool,
Yeah, and it's just one of those interesting things that pop up, but as you're saying, possibly not being the prospect that he kind of was, it might just not work out that way.
So I think that, and then just the third thing too is it's not pro uniform, it's high school / college. So look, I think this is going to be, it'll sell very, very well, but I don't think this is going to be one of the most valuable cards, ever. So whoever gets it, I think is going to be a LeBron collector. That's my gut feeling.
Yeah, I don't. And I have so there's a LeBron only Facebook group that only sells sort of high end LeBron cards, and sometimes you see these the Irish uniforms signature. Sometimes they pop up, and they used to be quite expensive, but I haven't seen them pop up recently. But I would imagine if he's starting to sign in pro uniforms, that those cards might drop in value as well, and that probably would be considered one of those products. I know it's a one of one.
John O'Michaels agrees with your thought process in that space. And he is a devout collector of LeBron. And I'm probably coming around to his way of thought when it goes into that space, to be honest. But at the same time, too, I would also not be panic selling those cards because
I'll be keeping them.
You don't really know what the Fanatics cards are going to end up coming to look like. So Like, just taking point that Wembamyama card that you put up today on socials. Like, he more looks like Jeremy Sochan than Victor. Like, what they did to his hair, it's like purple and pink. You make a pink and purple card of LeBron in a pro uniform. Like, I'm probably still going to be going for that Irish stuff, to be honest. Like, some of that exquisite stuff looks really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, are you going to sell it for that alone? Like, that doesn't add up to me. So, there's still a bit of room in that space to move, I think. Yeah.
Definitely. All right.
All-Star Weekend.
Yes, All-Star Weekend.
Did you want it completely revamped?
I think that they're missing an opportunity to have one-on-one tournaments or two-on-two tournaments. You know, even playing, schoolyard games like horse. Like, I think I posted on the group, like, if you're getting Steph Curry shooting in from in the crowd, or playing against someone else who shoots the ball long. It's a bit like I think the
like Steph versus Sabrina.
Oh, Steph versus Sabrina.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I'm going to take a shot from here. You have to match my shot, or you get a letter. And just have it up on the screen. Horse. Like, I think it'd be a little bit more relatable. And possibly people would, try harder. Just imagine, like, if you had Paolo Banchero versus, I don't know, Jalen Green, or anyone, Wemby versus Chet, one-on-one. People would play harder than they do on East versus West, or like a two-on-two, like NBA Jam sort of style. You got your two players from one team, two players from others, and you can pick and choose. I just think I was watching it, and then some college basketball came on afterwards. But just watching even like the slam dunk competition. I don't know how much more they can improve on the slam dunk. I don't know. I thought it was just a bit tired. Not sure what you thought.
So I think for me, the most important thing of the weekend is the actual All-Star game. So I'm just going to start there.
Yeah.
And I think everybody has a price. So whatever they're currently paying them is not enough to make them try hard. So what I'm basically saying is throw as much money as you can at this to get it to work.
That's
so
where
there's a $12 million prize to the winner.
Yeah.
And the players get it. So if the East win it, then they divide up $12 million between them. Like, surely they can revenue raise $12 million with advertising. Like,
sure. Surely. No, I don't think that would be a problem.
So, okay, whatever the number is, let's call it 12 or 50, whatever. But, that's that. And not to charities too. Like, it goes to their private yachts and their, like, nights to the strippers and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep it real here. Like, yeah. And then I think for all the other stuff, look, again, like, I don't really care about this sort of stuff. But again, I think if there was enough money in it for the dunk competition, then LeBron would have been in it, every year,
Yeah.
So I think...
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I was going to say, if there was like a one-on-one tournament or a two-on-two tournament, some of those players have, like, money isn't really an issue, but like beating someone else might be more important. That's something that's like more important than money. But looking at the dunk competition, probably that's what they're already doing. Like, I don't think there's any cash incentive involved in it, is there?
Yeah, right.
So they're already doing that. So I don't know.
I just think that, for me, I think if you get the game right, everything else just fall into place. And even if you have, a dunk competition that's not that great, or you have a 3-point shooter that's not that great, you can kind of live with that. But I just still think, like, the centerpiece is that. And until they get that right, I think all this other stuff they're trying to do, it's a bit like, what does it matter, Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you were growing up, did you watch all the other All-Star games? And what's an All-Star game that sort of comes to memory for you?
Look, during that period, probably through the 90s, I was probably quite young. I can't go to a particular game, but I remember it, being way more rivalry driven.
Yeah. So did Did you see the All-Star game when Magic had retired because of HIV and then somehow he got voted in just for the All-Star game and he came back for that one game?
No, but inform me.
Well, in my head, that was the most competitive All-Star game that I've seen because they were all kind of going at Magic and Magic was like going at them, and it was just this whole sort of back and forth thing. And I'm sure there's other competitive All-Star games too with, Jordan doing crazy stuff and Kobe, and that's sort of what I was leading into next. Like, we just don't really have that personality type at the moment that's a complete maniac that wants to destroy everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Chet might have a bit of dog in him doing that kind of stuff.
Needs more starter votes then.
Yeah. But for years to come, like those rivalries, and especially with Wemby, I think that could be the next big sort of rivalry, those two against each other. And it's probably a shame that it might take a few more years for the Spurs to sort of get to OKC level, but
I think it's going to take them a really long time.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing that would make me wrong about that is that they're trying to be deliberately bad this year. I think that's probably the thing I might be missing in that, though. Like, I think them playing Sochan at point guard, like that was. I mean, we've talked about that heaps, but it's just like, I don't know, it's just appalling, isn't it? Really. Right. I think we should skip through a couple of these things. I think the best buys, we push that for next week because we're almost at an hour already. So we'll just do these last few as quick hitters. So just really quickly, this is not particularly a NBA story, but Filth Bomb Breaks, who is a very large company, they did 100 case break recently. And it was an MLB product. And how it came into my socials was because people were saying, well, they're not showing all the cards and they're just breaking them in a room, and there was like a lot of criticisms about that. So I'm really just teasing this because I actually reached out to them and asked them would they come onto the show. So in the next hopefully 2 or 3 weeks they'll be coming on to have a talk to us about doing 100 case break, because it's a crazy idea, but
it seems overwhelming.
Yeah.
So how many boxes are in a case of that product? Not sure.
Look, I saw him flip it over. It looked maybe 14 or 16 boxes, something like that, in that sort of realm. It's a very base heavy product. It looked like Donruss, something like this.
Well, the only thing that I can think of that was sort of similar to that possibly was when the group was going after that baseball bounty. They needed to get all the cards in the PSA 10. And these guys were just ripping product. But if you're trying to do that in a timely manner, did they have a single camera on a single spot, or?
So I actually tried to watch some of the feed today, and I found it. I found it actually on Fanatics Live is actually where it was, and on social media it looked to me like they had sort of an aerial camera over the top.
Yeah.
But in the actual broadcast, it's just a single breaker that you see. You don't actually see the 10 other guys breaking at the same time.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And Sports Cuts Nonsense, who you touched on earlier, Jesse was making the joke that it's like Wonka's factory when they're looking for it was Veruca Salt, wasn't it?
Veruca,
when they changed the peanut factory into the
chocolate bar opening factory.
But you don't see that in the live video, though. That's not what it looks like at all. But it's still an 11-hour video, despite 10 people breaking at the same time. Like, it's just wild.
Yeah. I mean, is bigger better? I'm not sure doing that kind of stuff. Because then, like, being in breaks yourself, you'd like this, there's, transparency involved. Like, you see each card pulled, like you sort of see that, and maybe it was the wrong product to do that with, if it's so base heavy.
I think these are the questions we have to ask them.
Yeah. Just because, like, if you're ripping Donruss, it'd be like there's 2 or 3 good cards in the pack and the rest are. But if you were ripping like 100 cases of, I don't know, what would be, Court Kings maybe, or
you could at least see the 10 cards out of each box.
Yeah, you could probably get through it, and it probably wouldn't take 11 hours. in my head, that it's sort of just a bad use of resources, time, and sort of lack of transparency as well.
Yeah, I think that's what you just said there with the lack of transparency. That was the thing that kept on coming up again and again and again in the comments, and that is definitely something I'm going to ask them. Like, how do you make sure that the hits get to the person who paid for the spots?
Well, and like the MLB guys, they want those base cards, so you got to pack up all those base cards.
That's also on the question list too. Who's the poor sucker that had to sort 100 cases?
Yeah. That might keep me up tonight. Yeah. Thinking about that.
Alrighty. Giannis versus LeBron James. So this is a goodie, actually. 2013 rookie Giannis gold 9.5 BGS 10 autograph, and a 2008 Topps Chrome LeBron James numbered to 5 BGS 9. Basically the same price, $51,240, $52,800. Which would you choose and why?
Look, I feel like there's probably only a few players that are sort of blue chip stocks. Yeah, MJ and probably LeBron are liquid. Like if you needed to sell them, then you could probably just get, most recent sales price or, around there. I don't think you'd be losing money on those cards. I know Giannis has a championship. He's the leader of the Bucks team. He's got his brother on the team. It's probably, that situation is probably pretty similar to what LeBron will do with Bronny, I think, at the start, at least.
It's 100% nepotism in that too.
Yeah, which I think he's quite transparent about that, I think. Did you see the stats the other day about the votes? There was 3 votes for Thanasi for All-Star team.
Who voted for him?
Is it the 2 other, Giannis and is there another Antetokounmpo in there?
Probably.
Yeah, so they all voted for each other. There was like no transparency in that. There was only 3 votes for him. So it was like we could tell who you voted for because no one else was voting for him. So yeah,
maybe Brook Lopez voted for him as like part of the joke.
Possibly. Yeah. But he might have voted for his brother.
No one voted for Robin.
But yeah, so look, I think the safest option would be I'd be choosing the LeBron.
Yeah. Okay.
Was Giannis's rookie? Would you say 2013?
It's rookie. Yep, number 10. Yeah.
Okay.
It's really hard, isn't it? This is a ripper.
Might throw a bit of a spanner in the works a bit, but they got Lillard this year. They've been pretty disappointing, I think, this year. Just from keeping a close eye on their games, they've lost them to some bad teams. And I don't know if Giannis has another championship coming up in his career at the Bucks. So but LeBron's isn't the rookie, is it? Yeah.
It's that very classic chalk toss picture, though. That is, it's an absolute beautiful card. That one.
Oh, well, I'm going for the LeBron then. I reckon just the collectability of that. And yeah, I think the LeBron. What are you choosing?
It's very, very difficult. And I feel like even I've been listening to you, I'm sort of going back and forth. But
it's got the RC shield on it though, the Giannis.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm just going to walk with that because I think that's actually really important. And he doesn't sign a lot.
No, and that's most of his rookie stuff is stickers as well because.
And that's his old autograph that had maybe a little bit more TLC put into it. And then, definitely the sticker is a negative of that card, but at the same time,
there's only like a handful of cards that weren't stickers.
Yeah,
and I assume they're locked away deep in someone's collection.
Probably in his collection.
Yeah, in his collection, definitely. If you want it once. But yeah, LeBron has a few of his rookie cards, doesn't he? I guess 3 or 4.
I would not be surprised at all. Yeah.
I think I've seen footage of him mentioning it. But I think he didn't take them while he was signing them. I think he might have bought them.
Of course he did. LeBron's like literally the golden boy, isn't he? He wouldn't do what Giannis did and like pinch them.
Just hand them back.
The next one.
Yeah.
Sorry, after you.
No, I was just going to reaffirm my point. I reckon I'm probably LeBron on that one.
Okay. Our next card to talk about is a Reggie Miller Downtown PSA 10. Last sold for $1,200. I think this is really interesting to me because it sold for $380 just 3 years ago. So it's gone up, dramatically. Look, I think my very short and sweet line on this is that case hits are important, and obviously, some case hits are more important than others, but I think Downtown and Kabooms are going to be a very, very good long-term purchase, and I think this is just really the market getting to where it needs to be. Like, frankly, I actually think this is still cheap at that price. I think that's a really good buy.
Yeah.
It's a very shrewd purchase. Yeah.
It's interesting. So I've got a PSA 8 first year LeBron Kaboom. And so those prices went way down. They probably went down to maybe 1,800, roughly 1,700 USD.
Did you buy it before it went down or after?
I bought it raw and got it graded. So I was hoping for a little bit of a better grade, but that's all right. Yeah. And so just watching those prices, just because after I got it graded, I was looking all the time to find it, but they actually don't come up for sale that often.
Yeah.
And I've got it priced on eBay at the moment in my store for a ridiculous amount because I don't really want to sell it.
Yeah.
But if someone comes along and goes, have it for this price, I'm like, sure, it's fine. But those, because I think I've spoken to you about this before. Like, I feel like, especially that first year, it's sort of like the PMG of our generation, I guess. They're like, I don't think that year had the number to 10, but this year did. And when they do that, it sort of feels like that's the green and these ones are the red style. So, and I think, I bought that thinking first year I'll just keep that for a long time.
I'm surprised you're even taking offers on it, to be honest. I feel like that's the type of thing you'd put into a vault. I mean, I agree with you, like PSA 8's not the desirable outcome, but I would also say too, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, how many of those cards are there? Have you looked into the pop on it?
So there's a guy on Instagram, I forget his name, but shout out to him. He does like a lot of like retroactive pop counts or print runs for cards. And so he put it at a sort of like it's probably between, I think it was 90 and 125.
Really?
Roughly, for those, that first year Kaboom.
Right.
And I think every year since then, he's sort of worked around that 100 mark.
Right. So
for each player. So, what
do you think that his numbers are reliable?
I've sort of looked through a few different things, and like generally it's positive feedback from everyone on his page, and whether that's just a confirmation bias, I'm not too sure, but trying to find out how many boxes were made from a 2013 product for that innovations. Maybe I'll send you a link of that actual rundown, because off the top of my head I can't remember it, and see how he came up with that number.
So the two things I'll add to this, and I'm not disagreeing with his numbers without seeing them. Like, I wouldn't do that, but in my head, this is where I'm at. I thought around the sort of the 2017 mark, we were around total population, 75 to 100. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And maybe the point of difference where I've got with this gentleman is that I think the population, so if he thinks that year was 100, and let's say that's accurate, okay? So, and I probably think he's right, because I'm probably giving Panini too much credit in keeping the numbers down too low. What I probably think what I would disagree with is I think every year the population's gone up because they're printing more product every year. Like we know that.
Yeah,
we know that now. Like we know that in the last 12 months they've just doubled the print run of blasters. Like you know what I mean. So if they're doing that, like, so
yeah. So
if there was
I guess
100 back then, maybe there's 200 now.
I guess the argument that I would say, well, not an argument, just another point to add to that.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily need to increase the print run of a particular card. They can just add another player. So if they add one more player, that's 100 more.
There's many different ways they can increase print run. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not, that's 100 per player. Yeah. So if they add another person in, that's 100 more cases.
Another 100 cases, yeah.
And then add another one in. So it'd be interesting to look at a timeline of how many players were in that first one, because I don't think there was that many.
Yeah.
There was KD, Steph Curry, and a few. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it'd be interesting how many players they've added in sort of those years, because I think when they first came out, they weren't a popular card. You could get a Lebron Kaboom for like $50.
That's so wild, isn't it?
Yeah. So
how many would you buy now for $50? You know,
all of them. Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like even thinking about that. So bringing it back to that Tops Now card. So if that was an option when LeBron was a rookie, there was 189 numbered cards with LeBron's autograph with the rookie logo, like without inflation, like would people be paying $2,250 for that?
Without inflation.
Oh, so like I think those cards sort of were selling for, even his RPAs were like, not that much when they first came out.
I think without inflation, the answer is no. But I think if you were keeping in mind,
with inflation,
account for inflation, I think the answer would be yes.
Yeah, would people be spending more? Would it was like 5,000?
What you also need to put into your mathematics is he's been in the league now for 20 years.
Yeah.
So we're talking about 20 years of inflation, right?
Yeah. So let's say matching inflation. So let's just say whatever 2,200 is now, then.
Yeah.
Would people be spending that? Would people spend double? Would it'd just be interesting to see what the comparison would be.
Yeah.
I'm going to go after this. I'm going to go and find out what $2,250.
Jono Michaels can probably help us with the maths on this, to be honest.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Can we just really do some quick hitting stuff? Are you okay with that?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
All right. So these are just some players that I've had my eye on, recently that have just come to, I've been thinking about. So I think Brandon Miller's the big one. I think he's been the biggest winner of Charlotte doing the right thing and blowing their team up. In the month of January, Rookie of the Month, 16 points a game, 4.1 rebounds, 2.4 assists. Look, not mind-blowing numbers, but in comparison to where he started the year, it didn't look good at the start of the year. And to be honest, I was pretty nervous for Charlotte fans, to be honest. But I think he's coming along really nicely, and he is learning the pro game, and his adjustments have been profound. I think that's the best way to say it. Yeah,
definitely. So I think in January he had a few games where he scored like 30 odd points, and so those numbers probably don't give a true sort of a screenshot of where he's been in those like showout games, like where he's just performed, above and beyond.
Yeah.
And I had him for Rookie of the Year actually at the start, just because I thought that Wemby probably wouldn't meet those game requirements.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ended up. Brandon Miller was injured for a little while, wasn't he? Yeah. So that's taken him out of that. But yeah, I think he's interesting, and I think what will happen again. I did say before that people might hoard this product of the Prism stuff, but on the other hand, if people are going to rip so much of this stuff looking for Wemby's, that I think there will be a lot of other cards just available. Probably people won't bother getting graded and be available for raw purchase. So
definitely,
I think that'll be something to look into.
I think 100%. Yeah. So his silver raws are selling for 122 and 127 USD. Is that a buy, hold, or sell for you in that space?
For the silver raw,
yeah.
To be honest, I'll probably wait to the off season. I'll just wait for people to open a lot more product, watch these prices drop a little bit, and then possibly have your pick of, if you're integrating, look for one that's scented well, possibly you can get some more pics of, surface and all that kind of stuff.
That to me is very surprising, can I be honest with you? And again, I'm trying to find like the silver lining here. I think the hobby is quite healthy at the moment.
Definitely. I think I didn't expect it to be that high, especially after missing, quite a chunk from being injured. But
I think there's a lot of excitement about this prism coming out, this current crop. Yeah,
definitely. But I think that's not many people are holding these at the moment, so I think it's just maybe a wait.
Yeah,
yeah.
The other person I think is super cool at the moment for Charlotte is this Misic rookie who came across in the Thunder trade, 30-year-old rookie. I don't think he has any hobby relevance at all. I just wanted to talk about him to say he's super cool. So League Pass, Charlotte Hornets, check them out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was looking. So he had quite the game the other day. 18 points, 9 assists, 4 rebounds.
Yeah,
interesting.
He's a really good point guard. My comparison for him is actually Mark Jackson. Remember that coach? And he used to just back people down all the time with that sort of like, massive like butt. He kind of like gives me those vibes sometimes, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So I wonder if would he be no, he'd be too young to have played with Jokic for Serbia. Because Jokic, how old's Jokic? Is 34 or something? Let me have a look.
I think they definitely would have played together.
Yeah.
If he's 30?
No. How old do you think Jokic is?
I'd say Misic is 30.
Misic is 30. How old do you think Jokic is?
27, 28?
Yeah, he's 28. I thought he was way older than that for some reason. Anyway, but yeah, no, it is interesting to see these guys pop out of nowhere and just play well.
One of my strong buy at the moment is Jonathan Kuminga. So silver raw, 17.5, 49, 15, 25, 27, 21, 29, on and on. It sort of goes in that up and down range. So I'll just put that down to centering good, centering bad. Simple as that. PSA 10's 187. So I think, if we're comparing, let's just do a really quick comp between Brandon Miller and Kuminga. His raws are selling at 122 and you can get a PSA 10 for 187. Look, honestly, I think Kuminga is an absolute home run at the moment. His last 15 games, 21.5 points, 6 rebounds, 2.8 assists, so nearly 3 assists a game. You can't say that he saved the Golden State Warriors season because that's Steph Curry that's done that. But I think without contributions like this, and I think this also sort of fits into the grand plan that the Warriors front office had of somehow having these high draft picks and this like aging veteran team, and then the old legs would get a bit tired, the young legs would come through, and look, they haven't had a great draft history, and Moody and Wiseman probably haven't panned out exactly where they, were expecting them to. But
yeah,
I think Kuminga has just been an absolute home run, and I'm really, really high on this kid. Yeah,
especially with him getting more game time. I think it's quite interesting, and to see Clay coming off the bench is interesting as well.
Look, it's really sad to like watch a dynasty die, and I think it's been hard to watch Klay Thompson, gone through what he has, but at the same time, I'm also equal parts proud of him that he's coming off the bench. He's not complaining. He's speaking openly about transitioning to the next phase of his career, and he's been talking about. Have you heard this stuff when he's been speaking about Reggie Miller and Ray Allen?
Nah,
it's really, really interesting stuff. It's just fascinating. And to hear sort of the words come out of his mouth, I feel like he's put so much thought into this, and he's almost, put it to bed that, he's an all-star now. I think that's really, I think if something gives them the chance to win, I feel it's that type of, change in mentality and, and change in behavior. So it actually gives me a lot of positivity for the Warriors, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. But so back to Jonathan Kuminga. I think I'd be buying that PSA 10 ahead of a raw, or I'd be trying to scoop up, those higher priced silvers, hoping that surface issues and things like that.
Yeah.
But you talk about grading fee, wait time, all that kind of stuff. On top of those raw prices as well, and then hoping for a 10. think that 187 looks quite appealing.
It's not too bad, is it really? Yeah. Look, the only thing about the wait times with this guy, I don't think he's a quick flip.
No.
I think particularly the way he's playing now. And the other thing, just to add to this too, I don't think we probably emphasize how hard it is for a young player to break into such an excellent veteran team. And that's the other thing too. Like, he's playing good basketball on a very, they're not a very good team, but they're currently playing very good basketball. So, you know where I'm going with this. Like, I think, these are real stats. These aren't, Jordan Poole stats on the Wizards.
Yeah. No, he's been going well. And yeah, he's interesting. I think I might have a few Jonathan Kumingas, but I'd have to have a look. They're definitely not graded. But it might be something to look into.
I think it's time to send some stuff to PSA with Kumingas if you've got them. Honestly, I think he's transitioned into that next step for me.
Yeah. I haven't said anything for a while. I've got a big batch sort of waiting to go. But yeah, maybe I'll just chip away at it, send a few every now and then, because Slab's just down the road from me. That's where I go to.
You just walk down on your lunch break, drop them in.
Genuinely do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I think I have to get working on that pile sooner rather than later. But yeah, is there what next?
Last one. Killian Hayes was waived. Number 7 pick in the 2020 draft. I'm going to rag on Troy Weaver here a little bit. Troy Weaver is the current GM of the Pistons, and that was his first draft choice that he made. So you can say, I need to give the guy cut some slack or whatever. Or you can use this as a case study into Troy Weaver's professional career, because the way he's thrown Killian Hayes under the bus, coming out with quotes saying that he tried to sit Killian down and talk to him about improving his shooting, and the reason why he hasn't succeeded in the league is because of his shooting. I really think that's such a horrible way to try and save your own butt for picking the wrong person at number 7. And look, if Killian Hayes was the number 15 to 16 pick, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And I actually think he's a really, nice prospect. And if he doesn't make it in the league, it's more likely because he was so badly damaged in his time for the Detroit Pistons, Yeah.
Definitely.
So the question I want to pose to you is, what team should pick this kid up? Because I think he should be picked up. And I actually think there's 15 teams off the top of my head that should take a flyer on him. So I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Killian Hayes. Is he the one that Adam always rags on about how he's still in the league?
Well,
no.
Adam's friend Al bought a fair bit of Killian Hayes. So if he was ragging on it, it's probably because of that. Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, and I haven't really taken that much notice of him. So to even choose a team,
I'll just give you a quick rundown then. He's a pretty big guard.
Yeah.
Athletically, he's like an NBA player. There's no troubles with that. Strength-wise, he's strong enough to compete with every single one in the league, and probably 80% of the twos. Probably Anthony Edwards would outmuscle him a little bit. But, Edwards is a bit of a beast. So ball handling is not fantastic. Passing is average. And shooting, as Troy Weaver said, is his weak spot.
Not great. Who's got the best shooting coach?
The Spurs.
Go to the Spurs.
Yeah. So I think that's as bad as the Spurs are, they should be looking to pick up young prospects basically for nothing. I think the Wizards should try and pick this kid up.
It's definitely sort of those bottom level teams, trying to pick up players for cheap.
The Hornets just cut Book Knight.
Yeah.
And I think reading about that seems more about his behavior and his legal issues than anything else. The Toronto Raptors, I think he would fit into that big switching defensive schemes they like to run. Actually, I think he would fit in with them quite well. I don't think the Nets have got any space for him. I think the Hawks could use another young kid. That team's in a bit of flux at the moment. And then the other one that I think would actually be quite useful is the Heat. I think bringing someone in with talent into a team that's got very good culture, got very good coaching in place, got very good ethics in place, I think he would just be a really good pickup, because they've turned players with much less talent than him into excellent NBA players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think about like Cody Martin. Like that's ridiculous what that guy's doing now.
Yeah, they've been interesting the last few games. They've been winning a few tight ones.
Yeah.
Which generally they're on the opposite end of that. So whether it's that just right type of season to be building towards something, but yeah, picking up a player like that, it's definitely just strengthened.
Yeah. In the West, I'm going Nuggets, Lakers, Spurs. I think he needs to get picked up ASAP.
Yeah, right. Troy Weaver needs to work on. Needs to take responsibility for his bad choice, if that's what he thinks. Anyway. I think the buck stops with you as GM. You can't pass it on to a player that you've waived.
I think that's a bad way to release a kid too, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. What do you got for me?
Final thoughts. It's getting late. That's what I'm thinking at the moment. But final thoughts is, I think, instead of paying $890 into a case break of blasters for a Wemby card, save up for that Tops Now auto release, I think.
I think that's a perfect way to end the show. Thanks everyone for listening. Take it easy.
All right, Russ, thanks for having me as a guest on the You Can't Comp This podcast. And thanks everyone for listening.
Cheers, mate.